When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I remember the way my lips curved, even though my heart was breaking inside. I did not want her to see me fall. I did not want to give her that power. So I stood there in my own kitchen, the same kitchen where I had cooked for my son since he was 5 years old, and I nodded like she had only asked me to pass the salt. "It's better this way," she said softly, but her eyes were already looking past me. "You will be more comfortable somewhere else." Somewhere else. That was the moment I learned my home was no longer mine. Not because I had done something wrong, not because I was unkind, not because I failed as a mother, but because while I was folding clothes and boiling rice and praying for my family every night, papers were signed without my name, decisions were made without my voice, and the house I had lived in for over 30 years was sold like it was an old chair. I found out by accident. A stranger knocked on my door one afternoon. He held a folder in his hand and said, "We are taking measurements today. The new owner wants to renovate." I laughed. I thought he was confused. "This is my house," I told him. He looked at me gently, the way people look at someone who does not yet know bad news. "Ma'am, this property was sold 2 weeks ago." That day the walls felt like they were moving closer to me. The floor felt unsteady, and the air inside my chest became very thin. I did not scream. I did not faint. I did not argue. I simply closed the door and sat on the edge of my bed, holding the corner of the blanket like it was a rope keeping me from falling into a deep hole. That was the day I understood what it feels like to be erased. I am not a woman with big dreams. I never was. I am a simple housewife from a small town. My life has always been made of small things. Waking before sunrise, sweeping the front step, heating water on the stove, cutting vegetables slowly, carefully, waiting for my son to come home. I married young. My husband worked at a local repair shop. He had strong hands and a quiet smile. We did not have much money, but we had peace. And in the middle of that peace, our son was born. He was my whole world. When he was small, he used to hold my finger while sleeping. Even in dreams, he did not want to lose me. I still remember how his tiny hand felt around mine, warm, trusting. I raised him in that house. Every corner of it carries a memory. The crack near the window where he once threw a ball too hard, the kitchen wall where I marked his height every year, the back room where he studied late at night for his exams. That house is not just brick and paint, it is my life written in walls. When my husband passed away, the house became even more precious. It was the last place where his voice still seemed to exist. Sometimes, late at night, I would hear the wind and imagine it was him walking through the hall. My son grew up. He went to college in another city, and I stayed behind, keeping the house alive. I cleaned it. I repaired what I could. I waited. When he told me he was getting married, I was happy, truly happy. "I found someone," he said over the phone. "She is kind, Ma. She is smart." I smiled as if he could see me. "Bring her home. Let me meet the girl who took my son's heart." I imagined a daughter, someone I could cook with, talk to, teach small things. I dreamed of laughter in the kitchen again. When they came, I welcomed her with open arms. She was beautiful, well-spoken, confident. She touched my feet in respect. She called me Ma. That day I believed God had been kind to me. I did not know that kindness sometimes comes with a hidden ending. After the wedding, my son brought her into the house like a bright new season. I stood at the doorway and watched them enter. He carried their suitcase. She looked around with curious eyes. I could see her taking in the old furniture, the narrow hallway, the faded curtains. I wondered what she saw. "This is our home," he said proudly. She smiled. "It's cozy." That word stayed with me. Cozy. It did not sound like love. It sounded like something temporary. Still, I told myself not to judge. She was young. She came from a bigger city. My small town life must have felt strange to her. In the beginning, everything was polite. She helped in the kitchen. She asked how much salt I used. She said, "Ma, your tea is very nice." She called me every morning when she left for work. But slowly, very slowly, the house began to feel different. She rearranged the living room first. "This sofa blocks the light," she said. "Let's move it." I agreed. Light is good. Then she replaced the curtains. "These are too dark," she said. "We need something fresh." I nodded. Fresh is good too. Then she moved my small prayer corner. She said, "It looks better in the bedroom." That one hurt a little, but I did not say anything. A home is like a body. You feel every change, even small ones. At night, when everyone slept, I would walk through the rooms. I would touch the walls softly, as if apologizing. I told myself I was being foolish. She is building her life, I thought. Let her. My son seemed happy. He laughed more. He talked about work, about plans, about the future. Sometimes I would sit quietly at the dining table while they talked about trips, apartments, investments. I did not understand most of it. I only understood silence. Slowly I became a guest in my own home. They ate dinner later. I ate alone. They watched shows in English. I sat in my room. They closed their door. I learned not to knock. One evening I asked my son, "Are you happy?" He looked surprised. "Of course, Ma. Why do you ask?" I smiled. "No reason." I wanted to say, "I miss you," but I did not want to sound weak, so I swallowed it. She began to talk about change more often. "This house is old," she said one day while standing near the window. "It needs repairs. The roof leaks. The paint is dull." "It has stood for many years," I said. "It has kept us safe." She nodded. "Yes, but we could sell it, buy something modern, better." Sell it. The word felt like a stone in my chest. "This is our home," I said gently. She smiled again, that same polite smile. "Of course, just an idea." I noticed she never said "your home." She always said "this home." Ideas have a way of growing when no one is watching. Soon she began to invite people over, friends, colleagues, a real estate agent once. I thought he was someone's uncle. They spoke in low voices. They stood on the balcony. They measured rooms with their eyes. One afternoon, I asked her, "Who was that man?" She said, "Just someone who knows about houses." I felt foolish for asking. I told myself I was imagining things. A mother should not doubt her own son. I trusted him. I always had. From the day I carried him on my back to school, from the day I stayed awake when he had fever, from the day I sold my bangles to pay his college fees. Trust is something I learned. It was something I lived. So when papers appeared on the table, I did not read them. "They are just office things," she said. When my son asked for my signature on a form, I signed. He said, "It's for electricity." I did not ask questions. A mother believes.
The distance between us grew quietly, not through fights, not through harsh words, but through small absences. They stopped asking my opinion. They stopped waiting for me. They stopped noticing. One evening, I cooked his favorite lentils. He came home late. She already ate, my daughter-in-law said. We ordered food. He smiled at her. Sorry, Ma. Maybe tomorrow. I poured the lentils back into the pot. Tomorrow. That word also stayed with me. Sometimes at night, I sat on my bed and wondered when I had become invisible. I still cleaned the house, I still cooked, I still prayed for them. But no one saw. I was part of the walls now, silent, still. I told myself, this is life. Children grow, mothers step back. I did not know I was being pushed. The day the stranger knocked, the sky was gray. It had rained in the morning, the air smelled of wet earth. I was washing rice when the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands and opened the door. A man stood there with a folder. Good afternoon, he said. We are here for inspection. Inspection? I asked. Yes, for renovation. The new owner wants to start soon. I smiled politely. You have the wrong house. He checked the address. This is the one. I felt my breath slow. There must be a mistake, I said. This house belongs to my family. He looked at me with kindness. Ma'am, this property was sold. The documents are complete. I closed the door slowly. I leaned against it. The house was suddenly very quiet. No clock ticking, no bird sounds, only my heartbeat. I walked to their room. They were not home. On the dining table lay a brown envelope. Inside were copies, signatures, my son's name, her name, not mine. That was the moment I understood, not just that the house was sold, but that I had already been left behind. I did not cry right away. I sat at the table and stared at those papers like they were written in a foreign language. My name was not there. The house that carried my life did not carry my voice. I folded the papers carefully and put them back in the envelope. Then I waited. I waited the way only mothers can, quietly, patiently, with a heart full of questions and no words. They returned in the evening. I heard their laughter at the gate. The sound felt distant, like it came from another world. I served dinner as usual. Rice, vegetables, simple food. They ate. They talked about work, about traffic, about a new cafe in town. I watched my son's face. He looked the same eyes, the same smile, the boy I had held in my arms. I wondered when he had learned to hide from me. After dinner, when she went to take a call, I spoke. Son, I said softly. Yes, Ma? There was a man at the door today. He paused, just for a second. Oh, he said. He said this house has been sold. He looked at his plate. I waited. She returned. What's wrong? She asked. I looked at both of them. Is it true? I asked. Has this house been sold? Silence filled the room. She spoke first. Yes, Ma, we planned to tell you. My son still did not look at me. You planned to tell me, I repeated. We didn't want to worry you, she said gently. Everything is arranged. You will be comfortable. Where? I asked. We will find a small place for you, nearby, peaceful. For you, not with us. My son finally looked up. Ma, it's better this way. This house is too big. You will have less work. I searched his face. When did you decide? I asked. He hesitated. A few months ago. A few months. That was when the curtains changed, when the prayer corner moved, when strangers began to visit. I nodded slowly. Why didn't you tell me? He opened his mouth, closed it. She said, We thought you would resist. Resist? As if I was a problem. This is my home, My voice did not rise. It barely moved. I raised you here. Your father lived here. I kept it alive. I know, Ma, he said, but we need to move forward. Forward, away from me. I stood up. I need some air. Outside, the sky was dark. The street was quiet. A dog barked far away. I stood on the step and held the railing. Inside that house, every wall knew my name. Soon, it would not. That night, I did not sleep. I walked from room to room. I touched the door frame where I once measured his height. I sat on the bed where I nursed him when he was sick. I stood in the kitchen where I learned to cook as a young bride. I whispered apologies to the walls. I tried, I said. In the morning, I packed a small bag. Not because I agreed, but because I did not know how to fight my own child. She watched me fold my clothes. "You don't need to hurry," she said. "We still have a week." "A week?" I nodded. My son stood in the doorway. "Ma, you're not angry, right?" I looked at him. "No," I said. "I am tired." He came closer. "You know we love you." I wanted to ask, "Then why am I leaving?" But I did not. Love is sometimes spoken only to soften a goodbye. People in town began to ask questions. "I heard your house is sold," one neighbor said. I smiled. "Yes." "Where will you go?" "I don't know yet." They looked at me with pity. I had never been pitied before. At night, I sat on my bed and thought of my husband. "If you were here," I whispered, "would this have happened?" The house felt empty already, even before I left. One afternoon, I overheard her on the phone. "Yes, everything is done. She will move soon," she said. "It's better. She is old-fashioned. She would never understand." I stood still. Old-fashioned? I understood more than she thought. I understood what it means to give your whole life to someone and still be left behind. That evening, I asked my son one last question. "Did you know before the papers were signed?" He nodded. "Why didn't you stop it?" I asked. He looked away. I didn't want to upset her. I smiled. That was when something inside me finally cracked. Not loudly, just quietly, like a thin glass. I realized then I had raised a good man, but I had lost my place in his world. The day I left, I stood at the door for a long time. I touched the handle. I whispered, "Thank you." She handed me my bag. "I hope you will be happy," she said. I smiled. "I hope you will understand one day," I replied. My son hugged me. "Visit often," he said. I walked away. Behind me, the door closed. Not loudly, just once. And that sound followed me. The room I moved into was small. One window, one bed, a narrow cupboard, a tiny stove in the corner. It belonged to a woman I barely knew. She rented it to me because she felt sorry when she heard my story. She said, "You can stay as long as you need." As long as I need? I sat on the edge of the bed and looked around. This place had no memories, no laughter, no echoes of my past, just 4 clean walls. That night, I lay awake listening to the sounds of strangers living their lives around me, a television playing, someone laughing, someone arguing. I felt like I had slipped out of my own story and into someone else's. In my old house, I knew every sound, every creak, every breath of wind. Here, everything was unknown. I folded my hands on my chest and whispered, "I am still here." It felt like I was trying to convince myself. Days passed. I cooked small meals. I washed my clothes in a bucket. I sat by the window and watched people walk by. No one waited for me. No one asked if I had eaten. Sometimes my son called. "Are you okay, Ma?" "Yes," I said. "Do you need anything?" "No." He sounded relieved. She never called. I did not expect her to. One afternoon, I went back to the old street, not to enter, just to stand across the road. The house looked different. Painted, bright, new curtains, a new name on the gate. Someone else's life had already begun inside my walls. I stood there quietly. A woman came out. She did not know me. She locked the door and walked away. I realized then the house had moved on, but I had not. A week later, I received a call. It was my son. His voice was shaking. "Ma, can you come?" "Where?" I asked. "To the hospital." My heart tightened. "What happened?" She fainted," he said. "The doctor says it's stress, the move, the new job, everything." I closed my eyes. "I will come," I said. At the hospital, she lay on the bed, pale. My son stood beside her, frightened like a child. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. "Ma," he said, "I don't know what to do." I walked slowly to her bed. She opened her eyes. For the first time, she looked at me without pride, without distance, just fear. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. I said nothing. I held her hand. It felt thin, fragile. In that moment, I saw not an enemy, just a young woman who had been afraid of losing control. The doctor spoke to my son. "He needs rest," he said. "No pressure, no big changes for some time." My son nodded again and again. Then he turned to me. "Ma, can you stay with us for a while?" With us? The words felt strange. I looked at him. "You sold the house," I said gently. "Where will we stay?" He lowered his head. "We moved into a flat. It's small, but I need you." Need? That word had not been used for me for a long time. I did not answer right away. I remembered the closed door, the packed bag, the quiet goodbye. I remembered how small I had felt. Then I looked at him. He was still my son. Broken, confused, human. "I will come," I said. "Not because you asked, but because I choose." He cried. The flat was indeed small. 2 rooms, a narrow kitchen. I slept on a thin mattress in the corner. She tried to help me settle. "Ma, I'm sorry," she said one night. "I thought I was doing what was best." I nodded. "Sometimes," I said, "we forget that others have roots." She listened. For the first time, she truly listened. Living together again was not easy, but it was honest. She began to ask me things: how I cooked, how I managed money, how I stayed calm. I did not teach her. I shared. My son watched us. One evening, he said quietly, "I forgot what it means to belong." I placed my hand on his. Belonging is not about walls. It is about hearts that do not close. One day, he came home with papers. "Ma," he said, "we made a mistake. We sold too quickly. We followed dreams without looking back." I said nothing. "We cannot undo it," he continued, "but we can build something new, together. Together." This time, the word felt real. Life in the flat found a gentle rhythm. It was not the house I had lost. It did not carry my husband's shadow. It did not know my son's childhood laughter, but it carried something new: awareness. Every morning, I woke before them. I made tea. I opened the window. I let light enter. She began to wake early, too. "Ma, can I help?" she would ask. Sometimes she cut vegetables the wrong way. Sometimes she burned the bread. Sometimes she grew tired too quickly. But she tried. And trying is a form of respect. One evening, as we sat on the floor folding clothes, she spoke. "When I came into your house, I was afraid," she said. "It was full of your memories. I didn't know where I belonged." I folded a shirt carefully. "You thought removing me would give you space," I said. She nodded. "But space is not made by pushing someone out. It is made by letting them stand beside you." Her eyes filled with tears. I was wrong. she whispered. I did not reach for her. I did not say it was fine. I simply said, "Now you know." That was enough. My son changed too. He began to sit with me in the evenings. Sometimes we said nothing. Sometimes he asked about his father. I was so busy becoming someone that I forgot who I came from, he said one night. I placed my hand on his shoulder. You don't lose your roots by growing. You lose them by pretending they never existed. He closed his eyes. I am sorry, Ma. I did not say, it's okay. I said, I am still here. Months passed. She grew stronger. The doctor said the danger had passed, but something inside her remained soft. She began to treat me not as an old woman in the corner, but as part of her life. She asked my opinion. She waited. She listened. One afternoon, she came home with a small plant. For the window, she said, so it feels like home. I touched its leaves. Plants need patience, I said. She smiled. So do people. We never spoke again about the old house. Some losses do not need discussion. They only need acceptance. But sometimes, late at night, I still see it in my dreams. The gate, the kitchen, the wall with marks of growth. I wake up quietly. I sit on my mattress. I remind myself, a home is not only a building, it is a place where your name is spoken gently. For a long time, my name was silent. Now it is heard again. Ma, she calls from the kitchen. Ma, where is the sugar? Ma, can you show me? And I walk, slowly, but with purpose. I am still a simple housewife. I still wake early. I still sweep. I still cook. But now I know something I did not before. A mother's love should not erase her. Sacrifice should not make you invisible. Silence should not become your identity. If you are listening to my story and you feel forgotten, if you gave your life and now feel like a guest in it, remember this. You do not lose your worth when others forget it. You do not disappear because someone closes a door. You are still here. And sometimes life does not return what it took. It gives you something different, a new beginning, a softer heart, a voice. I lost my house, but I found myself. And that is something no one can ever sell.